The space station Harmony 7 floated in the darkness between three star systems. It was home to thousands of beings from dozens of different species. They lived together, worked together, and traded together. For 20 years, the station had been a symbol of peace in a galaxy that had known too much war. Kang Do-yoon stood at his post near the main docking bay. He wore the simple gray uniform of a security officer. He was not tall for a human, and he was not wide with muscle. He had a calm face and quiet eyes. When he walked, he made no sound. When he spoke, his voice was soft. The other species on the station thought he was weak. They thought all humans were weak. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago. They were the newest members, and many older species looked down on them. Humans were small. Humans were fragile. Humans came from a planet so dangerous that most aliens could not believe anyone had survived there at all. But surviving was not the same as being strong. At least, that was what the aliens believed. Do-yoon watched the docking bay doors open. A ship was arriving. It was not a trading ship or a passenger transport. It was a warship, painted in the red and black colors of the Kirathi Empire. He felt his stomach tighten, but his face showed nothing. The Kirathi were warriors. Their entire culture was built around combat. They were tall, with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were black and showed no emotion. For 300 years, no species had defeated a Kirathi champion in formal combat. They were proud of this record. They made sure everyone knew it. The ship's doors opened, and a group of Kirathi walked out. They moved in formation, their boots striking the metal floor in perfect rhythm. At the front of the group walked a female Kirathi. She was taller than the others, and she moved with the grace of a predator. Her name was Vesa Thorn. Do-yoon knew this because everyone knew this. She was the greatest champion the Kirathi had produced in a century. She had fought 47 formal duels. She had won all of them. Most of her opponents had died. Behind her walked Commander Rael, a male Kirathi with scars covering half his face. He was the one who had arranged this visit. He was the one who had sent the message to the Galactic Council. The message was simple. Humanity must prove their worth through combat, or they would lose their seat on the council. Do-yoon had read the message 3 times. He still did not fully understand why the Kirathi hated humans so much. But he understood what would happen if humanity failed this test. They would be expelled from council space. They would lose all trade rights. They would be alone again, surrounded by species that saw them as nothing. Park Subin, the human diplomat on the station, had tried everything to stop this. She had argued. She had negotiated. She had offered gifts and trade deals. Nothing worked. The Kirathi wanted blood. Now Vesa Thorn was here to collect it. The Kirathi group stopped in the center of the docking bay. Vesa looked around slowly, studying everyone present. Her black eyes moved from face to face. When she looked at Do-yoon, she paused. He met her gaze calmly. He did not look away, but he did not challenge her either. He simply stood at his post, doing his job. Vesa smiled. It was not a kind smile. She walked toward him, and the other Kirathi followed. Do-yoon did not move. He kept his hands at his sides and waited. "You," Vesa said. Her voice was deep and cold. "What is your name?" "Kang Do-yoon," he answered. "What is your rank?" "Security officer." Vesa looked him up and down. She tilted her head like a predator examining prey. "You are small for a human." "Yes," Do-yoon agreed. "You do not look like a warrior." "I am not a warrior. I am a security officer." Vesa laughed. The sound was harsh and sharp. "Perfect," she said. She turned to Commander Rael. "This one. I choose this one." Rael nodded. "The challenge is formal. Do you accept, human?" Do-yoon felt the eyes of everyone in the docking bay on him. He saw the other humans, his colleagues, his friends, watching with fear on their faces. He saw the aliens from other species watching with amusement. They expected entertainment. They expected to see a human die. "May I ask why you chose me?" Do-Yun said. Vesa stepped closer. She was nearly a full head taller than him. "Because you are weak," she said. "Because you are small. Because when I kill you, everyone will see what humans truly are. Nothing." Do-Yun considered her words. He thought about Subin, who had worked so hard to find another way. He thought about the other humans on the station, who would suffer if he refused. He thought about Earth, so far away, and the billions of people who would never know his name. "I accept," he said. The docking bay erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered, some laughed. The humans stood in shocked silence. Vesa nodded, satisfied. "3 days," she said. "We fight in 3 days. Prepare yourself, little human. I will try to make your death quick." She turned and walked away, her entourage following. Commander Rail stayed for a moment longer, studying Do-Yun with those scarred features. "You could have refused," Rail said quietly. "Another champion could have been chosen." "No," Do-Yun said. "She chose me. This is my responsibility now." Rail made a sound that might have been respect or might have been pity. Then he followed the others. Do-Yun stood alone in the docking bay. His friend Yun Tae-ho ran up to him, face pale with worry. "Do-Yun, what are you doing? She will kill you. We need to find someone else, someone stronger." "There is no one else," Do-Yun said calmly. "She chose me." "Then you need to train. You need to prepare." 3 days is not enough time, but maybe—" "I don't need to train," Do-Yun said. Tae-ho stared at him. "What? How can you say that? Did you see her? She's killed 47 people." Do-Yun looked at his friend. His eyes were calm, but something moved behind them. Something Tae-ho had never seen before. "I know exactly what she is," Do-Yun said. "And she has no idea what I am." He walked away, leaving Tae-ho standing in the docking bay with those strange words echoing in his mind. That night, while Vesa Thorne trained in the public gymnasium, showing off her speed and strength to crowds of admirers, Kang Do-Yun sat alone in his quarters. He ate a simple meal. He drank water. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. He did not train. He did not practice. He simply waited. And somewhere deep inside him, something old and dangerous began to wake up. 10 years ago, Kang Do-Yun had been a different man. He had been a soldier in Korea's most elite special forces unit. They called themselves the Black Ghosts. They trained in the mountains during winter, sleeping in the snow with no shelter. They ran until their legs gave out, then they crawled. They learned to fight with knives, with sticks, with bare hands. They learned to kill in silence. Do-Yun had been the best of them. His instructors said he had something rare. He could read people. He could watch someone move for just a few seconds and understand everything about them, their strengths, their weaknesses, their fears. In combat, this made him almost impossible to beat. He knew what his enemy would do before they did it. He had served for 8 years. He had completed missions that would never appear in any official record. He had done things that still visited him in his dreams. Then came the mission in the mountains, the mission that ended everything. His team had been sent to rescue hostages from a terrorist compound. The intelligence was wrong. There were 3 times as many enemies as expected. Do-Yun's team fought their way in, but they could not fight their way out. Do-Yun was the only survivor. He carried the memory of his brothers every day. He heard their voices when he slept. He saw their faces when he closed his eyes. After that mission, he made a promise to himself. He would never fight again unless there was no other choice. He would never take another life unless it was absolutely necessary. He left the military and joined the space program. He trained as a security officer, a job that sounded important but was mostly boring. He wanted boring. He wanted peace. He wanted to forget what he was. For 2 years on Harmony 7, he had kept that promise. He had walked away from fights. He had let others insult him. He had earned a reputation as a coward. But he was not a coward. He was a weapon trying very hard not to be used. Now, because of one alien woman's arrogance, he would have to break his promise. The day after the challenge, Do-Yun went to the station's observation deck. He stood at the window and looked out at the stars. Earth was somewhere out there, too far away to see. Park Soo-bin found him there. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a quick mind. She had spent her whole career building bridges between species. Now she watched those bridges burn. "I've tried everything," she said. She stood beside him but did not look at him. "The Kirathi will not back down. This challenge is legal under council law. If you don't fight, we lose everything." "I know," Do-Yun said. "Can you win?" Do-Yun was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," he said honestly. "She is very good." "That's not reassuring." "I don't want to reassure you. I want to tell you the truth." Soo-bin finally looked at him. "Why did she choose you? There are bigger humans here, stronger ones." "Because she wants to send a message," Do-Yun said. "She wants to beat the weakest human she can find. It will be more humiliating that way." "That's cruel." "That's the Kirathi way." Soo-bin shook her head. "Then train. Prepare. Show her you're not as weak as she thinks." Do-Yun smiled slightly. "No? No? Do-Yun, this is not just about you. This is about every human in council space. If you lose, I know what happens if I lose." His voice was still calm, but there was something harder underneath. "I have 3 days. Training will not make me stronger in 3 days, but it might make her careless. Right now, she thinks she knows me. She thinks I am weak, slow, afraid. I want her to keep thinking that." Soo-bin stared at him. "You're going to trick her?" "I'm going to let her see what she expects to see. And when the time comes, I will show her what I really am." For the first time, Soo-bin saw something in his eyes that made her take a step back. It was cold and sharp and dangerous. "What are you?" she whispered. Do-Yun looked back at the stars. "Something I promised myself I would never be again." Over the next 2 days, Vessa Thorne trained in public. She wanted everyone to see her power. She fought training drones and destroyed them in seconds. She lifted weights that would crush a human. She moved with speed that the eye could barely follow. Crowds gathered to watch her. Aliens from every species came to see the Kirathi champion. They cheered for her. They placed bets on how quickly she would kill the human. The odds were 50-1 against Do-Yun. During this time, Do-Yun did nothing. He went to work. He stood at his post. He ate his meals alone. He did not train. He did not practice. He did not even watch Vessa's demonstrations. The other humans on the station grew more and more afraid. They begged him to prepare. They offered to help him train. Tae-ho came to his quarters every night, pleading with him to take this seriously. "She is going to kill you," Tae-ho said on the second night. His voice was shaking. "I've watched her train. She's faster than anything I've ever seen. Her blade work is perfect. You need to at least try." "I am trying," Do-Yun said. He was sitting on his bed, eyes closed, breathing slowly. "You're just sitting there." "Yes. That's not trying." Do-Yun opened his eyes. "Tae-ho, do you trust me?" "What? Do you trust me?" Tae-ho was quiet. He had known Do-Yun for 2 years. In all that time, he had never seen his friend fight. He had never seen him raise his voice or show anger, but he had also never seen him afraid. "Yes," Tae-ho said finally. "I trust you." "Then trust me now. I know what I am doing." Tae-ho wanted to argue. He wanted to shake his friend and demand answers, but something in Do-Yun's voice stopped him. There was certainty there, complete and total certainty. "Okay," Tae-ho said quietly. "I trust you." On the third day, an old Kirathi warrior came to the observation deck. He was ancient, with faded gray skin and scars covering his body. He had fought in wars that most species had forgotten. His name was General Vor, and he had come to watch his people's champion win another victory. But he did not watch Vesa train. Instead, he watched Kong Do-yun. He watched the human stand at his post. He watched him walk through the corridors. He watched him eat and drink and talk with his friend. And he saw something that troubled him. The human moved like water. Every step was placed perfectly. Every motion was smooth and controlled. There was no wasted energy, no unnecessary movement. General Vor had seen warriors from 100 species. He knew what killers looked like, and this human, this quiet little security officer that everyone laughed at, moved like the most dangerous thing Vor had ever seen. He said nothing to Vesa. He said nothing to Commander Rail. But that night, alone in his quarters, the old general poured himself a drink and stared at the wall. Interesting, he said to himself. Very interesting. Tomorrow, the duel would begin, and General Vor suspected that everyone was about to be very surprised. The night before the duel, Vesa Thorn went to find the human. She told herself it was strategy. She wanted to see his fear. She wanted to watch him tremble and beg for mercy. It would make tomorrow's victory even sweeter. She found him in the station's garden. It was a small space filled with plants from different worlds. The air was warm and smelled of flowers. Do-yun sat on a bench beneath a tree from Earth. His eyes were closed. Vesa walked toward him. Her footsteps were silent. She had trained for years to move without sound. But when she was still 10 steps away, Do-yun spoke. "Good evening," he said. He did not open his eyes. Vesa stopped. "You heard me coming?" "Yes." "No one hears me coming." Do-yun opened his eyes and looked at her. His face was calm and friendly, like they were old colleagues meeting for a chat. "Would you like to sit down?" Vesa did not sit. She stood over him, using her height to intimidate. "I came to offer you a chance." "A chance?" "Surrender tomorrow. Admit that humans are weak. Bow before the Kirathi Empire and beg for mercy. I will make your death painless." Do-yun considered this for a moment. "That is a kind offer," he said, "but I must refuse." "Then you will suffer. Perhaps." Vesa felt frustration building in her chest. This was not going the way she expected. The human should be afraid. He should be sweating, shaking, crying. Instead, he sat there like they were discussing the weather. "You do not understand what I am," she said, her voice harder now. "I understand perfectly," Do-yun said. "You are Vesa Thorn, champion of the Kirathi Empire. You have won 47 formal duels. You have killed most of your opponents. You are fast, strong, and skilled. You have trained your entire life for combat." Vesa nodded slowly. "Then you know you cannot win." "I know that you are very dangerous," Do-yun said. "I also know that you have never fought a human before. I have studied your species. You are weak, slow, fragile. And yet we survived." Vesa frowned. "What?" "Earth," Do-yun said. "Our home world. Do you know anything about it?" "It is a small planet in an unremarkable system. It is a death world." Vesa went still. Death worlds were rare. Planets so dangerous that evolution became a war. Most intelligent species came from gentle worlds with stable climates and few predators. Death worlds produced monsters. "That is not possible," Vesa said. "Humans are too weak to come from a death world." "Are we?" Do-yun smiled slightly. "Our world has extreme temperatures, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts. The ground shakes and opens without warning. Mountains explode and cover the land in fire. The water rises and drowns entire cities. The weather changes from calm to deadly in minutes." Vesa said nothing. She was listening now. "And the life on Earth," Do-yun continued. Everything tries to kill everything else. We have animals that can crush bone with their jaws, insects that kill with poison, plants that eat flesh, invisible creatures in our water and air that destroy us from inside. Even our own sun causes sickness if we stand in its light too long. He looked up at her, and for the first time, Vesa saw something in his eyes that made her uncertain. Humans did not become the dominant species on Earth because we were the strongest or the fastest, Do-yun said. We became dominant because we refused to die. We adapted. We endured. We kept fighting long after any sane creature would have given up. Vesa felt something she had not felt in years. A small, cold whisper of doubt. Stories, she said. You are trying to scare me with stories. I am trying to answer your question, Do-yun said. You asked me why the Karathi hate humans. I think I understand now. We do not hate you. We simply see you for what you are. No. You fear us. Vesa's hands tightened into fists. The Karathi fear nothing. Then why this challenge? Do-yun asked. Humans have been on the council for 15 years. We have caused no trouble. We have started no wars. We have asked for nothing but a chance to trade and grow. Why now? Why this sudden need to humiliate us? Vesa did not answer. I think it is because we confuse you, Do-yun said. You cannot predict us. You look at humans and you see weak bodies, but then you see what we build, what we create, what we survive. It does not match. It makes you uncomfortable. I am not uncomfortable. Then why are you here, the night before you kill me? Why did you need to see my fear? Vesa had no answer for that. Do-yun stood up. He was much shorter than her. The top of his head barely reached her shoulder. But somehow, standing there in the garden with Earth's tree behind him, he did not seem small. You should fear us, he said quietly, but not for the reasons you think. And why should I fear you, little human? Do-yun smiled. It was a sad smile, tired and old. Because we know what it costs to survive. We carry it with us always. And when we are pushed far enough, when there is no other choice, we become what our world made us. And what is that? Do-yun looked at her for a long moment. Monsters, he said. Then he walked away, leaving Vesa alone in the garden. She stood there for a long time, thinking about what he had said. She told herself it was nonsense, tricks and stories to shake her confidence. The human was desperate, that was all. He was trying to get inside her head. But later that night, alone in her quarters, she found herself unable to sleep. She kept seeing his face. She kept hearing his voice. Monsters, he had said. Vesa had killed 47 opponents. She had faced the best warriors in the galaxy and destroyed them all. She had never lost. She had never even come close to losing. But she had also never seen anyone look at her the way Kang Do-yun had looked at her in that garden. There was no fear in his eyes. There was no anger or hate. There was something worse. There was pity. And for the first time in her life, Vesa Thorne was not sure what would happen tomorrow. In another part of the station, General Vor also could not sleep. He sat in his quarters with a cup of cold tea, thinking about the human he had watched for 3 days. The duel was legal. The outcome was certain. Everything was proceeding exactly as Commander Rail had planned. But Vor was old, and old warriors knew things that young warriors did not. He knew that the most dangerous enemies were the ones who did not look dangerous. He knew that confidence was often the first step toward defeat. And he knew, with a certainty that troubled him deeply, that tomorrow was not going to go the way anyone expected. The arena filled slowly. It was the largest open space on Harmony 7, designed for ceremonies and celebrations. Today it would host a death, thousands of beings packed into the viewing areas. They came from every species on the station, tall and short, scaled and furred, with 2 arms or 4 or more. They talked and laughed and made bets on the outcome. The air buzzed with excitement. In the center of the arena, a circle had been painted on the floor, 20 meters across. This was the combat zone. Once the duel began, neither fighter could leave until one of them was dead or surrendered. Kang Do-yoon arrived first. He wore simple clothes, a gray shirt and black pants, no armor, no protection. He walked to the edge of the circle and waited quietly. His face showed nothing. The humans in the crowd watched him with fear. Park Soo-bin stood with her hands pressed together like she was praying. Yoon Tai-ho could not keep still. He shifted from foot to foot, his face pale and sick. The other species watched with amusement. They whispered to each other and pointed at the small human standing alone. "He's so tiny," someone said. "This won't even be entertaining." "I heard he didn't even train. Humans are such fools." Then the Karathi drums began. The sound was deep and heavy, like a heartbeat. The crowd went quiet. On the far side of the arena, a door opened, and Vesa Thorne walked out. She wore traditional Karathi fighting armor, black metal plates that covered her chest and arms but left her legs free for movement. In her 4 hands, she carried her weapons, 2 curved blades and 2 short fighting sticks. She moved like a dancer, graceful and deadly. The crowd erupted in cheers. The Karathi in the audience stamped their feet in rhythm with the drums. Other species called out her name. Vesa walked to the circle and stopped across from Do-yoon. She looked down at him with cold black eyes. "Last chance," she said. "Surrender." "No," Do-yoon said. Commander Rael stepped forward. He would serve as the judge. He raised his hands and the arena went silent. "This is a formal combat challenge," he announced. His voice carried to every corner of the space. Vesa Thorne, champion of the Karathi Empire, versus Kang Do-yoon, representing humanity. The duel ends when one fighter is dead or surrenders. There are no other rules. He turned to Do-yoon. "As the challenged, you may choose your weapons." A rack of weapons was brought forward. Swords, spears, axes, knives, weapons from a dozen different cultures. Do-yoon walked over and looked at them carefully. Vesa expected him to choose a human weapon, something he was familiar with. Instead, he picked up a Karathi blade, the same type Vesa carried. It was curved and heavy, designed for 4-armed fighters. The crowd laughed. The blade was too big for him. He would be slow and clumsy with it. Vesa smiled. "You want to fight me with my own weapon? Bold. Stupid, but bold." Do-yoon said nothing. He held the blade incorrectly, with his grip too high on the handle. He looked uncomfortable, like a child holding his father's sword. "Begin," Rael said. Vesa moved. She was fast. Faster than anything Do-yoon had ever faced. One moment she was 5 meters away, the next she was in front of him, blades cutting through the air. Do-yoon stumbled backward. He raised his weapon barely in time to block the first strike. The impact knocked him sideways. He caught his balance, then had to dodge again as Vesa pressed her attack. She drove him across the circle, her blades flashing. Each strike came from a different angle: high, low, left, right. Her 4 arms moved independently, creating a pattern of attacks that seemed impossible to follow. Do-yoon retreated. He blocked when he could and dodged when he couldn't. His movements were awkward. He was always a half-second too slow, always just barely avoiding death. The crowd roared with excitement. This was what they had come to see. "Run, little human!" someone shouted. "Too slow!" "Finish him!" Vesa's blade cut across Do-yoon's arm. Blood splashed on the floor. He gasped and stumbled. Another blade caught his shoulder, opening a long gash. His gray shirt turned red. He was losing. Everyone could see it. He was outmatched, outclassed, overwhelmed. Vesa stepped back, giving him a moment to breathe. She wanted the crowd to see his pain. She wanted them to see the fear in his eyes. "You fight like a child," she said. I expected more. Do-Yun stood with his head down. Blood dripped from his arm and shoulder. His breathing was heavy. He looked beaten. "Surrender," Vesa said. "I will make it quick." Do-Yun did not move. "Surrender." Her voice was harder now. She wanted him to beg. She wanted to hear him admit that humans were nothing. Slowly, Do-Yun raised his head. He was smiling. It was not a smile of fear or desperation. It was the smile of someone who had been playing a game and was finally ready to show his cards. "Thank you," he said, "for the warm-up." Vesa's eyes narrowed. "What?" Do-Yun straightened. He shifted his grip on the blade, moving his hand to the correct position. He adjusted his stance. His weight centered perfectly. His feet found their proper place. In one instant, everything about him changed. The awkwardness was gone. The clumsiness was gone. The confused, frightened human who had stumbled around the arena for the last 3 minutes simply disappeared. In his place stood something else entirely. Vesa felt the air in the arena shift. She felt the crowd go quiet. She felt something cold crawl up her spine. "What is this?" she whispered. "This," Do-Yun said, "is what I really am." He moved. Before Vesa could react, he was inside her guard. His blade struck 3 times, chest, arm, leg. She felt the impacts before she saw him move. Blood sprayed from wounds she hadn't seen him create. She jumped back, all 4 arms raised defensively. Her heart was pounding. What had just happened? He was fast, impossibly fast. He had been stumbling like a fool a moment ago, and now Do-Yun stood in the center of the circle watching her. His face was calm. His body was perfectly still. He held the karate blade like he had trained with it his whole life. "You were studying me," Vesa said. Her voice was shaking. She hated that it was shaking. "You pretended to be weak so you could learn my patterns." "Yes," Do-Yun said. "The injuries. You let me cut you. I needed you to be confident. Confident fighters are careless fighters." Vesa felt rage building in her chest. She had been tricked. This weak little human had made a fool of her in front of thousands. "I will kill you for this," she growled. "You will try," Do-Yun said. She attacked again, faster than before, harder than before. She threw everything she had at him, all her speed and skill and fury. But now, nothing landed. Do-Yun moved through her attacks like water through stones. He dodged by centimeters. He blocked at the last possible instant. He wasted no movement, used no extra energy. Every step was exactly right. And he began to cut her. Small wounds at first. A slice across her arm, a stab in her leg. Nothing fatal, just enough to hurt, enough to slow her down. The crowd had gone completely silent. No one was laughing now. No one was cheering. They were watching a miracle, or perhaps a nightmare. In the viewing area, General War stood up slowly. His old eyes were wide. His cup slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. "Impossible," he breathed. "This is impossible." But it was happening. Right in front of him, a human was doing the impossible. And the duel was only beginning. The arena was silent. Thousands of beings watched, and not one of them made a sound. The only noise was the clash of blades and the heavy breathing of 2 fighters who were trying to kill each other. Vesa Thorne was losing. She knew it. She could feel it in her burning muscles and bleeding wounds. She could see it in the calm eyes of the human who stood before her. She had never lost a duel in her life, and now she was losing to a creature half her size. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was terrifying. She attacked again, pushing her body beyond its limits. Her 4 arms became a blur of motion. She used combinations she had never shown anyone. Techniques she had invented herself, saved for only the most dangerous opponents. Do-Yun read them all. He moved before she did. He knew where her blades would be before she put them there. Every attack she made, he was already countering. Every trick she tried, he had an answer for. "How?" she gasped. She drove her blade at his throat, and he stepped sideways, letting it pass a centimeter from his neck. "How are you doing this?" "I told you," Do-Yun said. He blocked a strike with his blade and slid under her guard, cutting her thigh. "I know what you will do before you do it." "That's not possible." "It is what my world made me." Vesa screamed in frustration and rage. She swung all 4 weapons at once, trying to overwhelm him with the sheer number of attacks. It was wild and uncontrolled, throwing away everything she had learned about proper form. Do-Yun stepped into the center of the storm. He moved through her weapons like they were standing still. He cut her wrist, and 1 blade fell from her hand. He cut her shoulder, and another weapon dropped. He struck her arms, her legs, her side. Each wound was precise. Each wound was controlled. He was not trying to kill her. He was taking her apart, piece by piece. Vesa stumbled back. She had only 1 blade left. Her body was covered in blood, some of it his, most of it hers. Her arms shook. Her legs trembled. She could barely stand. "Surrender," Do-Yun said. His voice was still calm, almost gentle. "This is over." "Never!" Vesa charged at him, swinging her last blade with all the strength she had left. Do-Yun waited. At the last moment, he stepped to the side and brought his weapon down on hers. The impact knocked the blade from her hand. It spun across the arena floor and stopped at the edge of the circle. Vesa fell to her knees. She had nothing left, no weapons, no strength, no hope. She looked up at the human standing over her. He held his blade at her throat. "Kill me," she said. "Finish it." Do-Yun looked at her for a long moment. The arena was completely silent. Every being in the crowd was holding their breath. Then he lowered his blade. "No," he said. Vesa stared at him. "What?" "I will not kill you." "You must. The rules. The challenge." "The challenge ends when one fighter surrenders or dies," Do-Yun said. "You have not surrendered, and I choose not to kill you." "Then we fight until one of us is dead." "No, I am done fighting." He turned and walked toward the edge of the circle. The crowd began to murmur. People leaned forward, confused. What was happening? Why wasn't he finishing her? Vesa felt something break inside her, all her pride, all her certainty, all her belief in her own invincibility. It all shattered at once. She had been beaten, completely, utterly beaten, and now the human was showing her mercy. Mercy. To a Karathi warrior. It was the greatest insult possible. "Come back!" she screamed. "Come back and fight me!" Do-Yun stopped at the edge of the circle. He did not turn around. "Kill me!" Vesa's voice cracked. "I would rather die than live with this shame." Slowly, Do-Yun turned. He looked at her, kneeling on the floor, covered in blood, shaking with emotion. He walked back to her and knelt down so they were face to face. "Listen to me," he said quietly. His voice was different now, softer, almost kind. "There is no shame in losing a fight. The shame is in refusing to learn from it. You don't understand. In my culture, we have a saying. Fall 7 times, stand up 8. The defeat does not define you. What you do after the defeat defines you." Tears were running down Vesa's face. She did not know when they had started. She did not care. Everything she believed about herself had been destroyed. "Why?" she whispered. "Why won't you kill me?" "Because killing you serves no purpose," Do-Yun said. "Because I have already made my point. And because—" He paused. "Because I am tired of death. I have seen too much of it. I have caused too much of it. I do not want to kill anyone else unless I must." He reached out his hand to her. "This duel is over," he said. "You fought well. You fought with honor. But you lost. Accept it. Stand up. And decide what kind of person you want to be now." Vesa looked at his hand. Such a small hand. Such a weak-looking hand. But she had seen what that hand could do. She took it. Do-Yun helped her to her feet. They stood together in the center of the arena, and the crowd erupted. Some cheered, some shouted in anger. The Karathi in the audience stamped their feet. But whether in respect or rage, it was hard to tell. The humans were crying and hugging each other. Commander Rael stood frozen, his face a mask of disbelief. Do-Yun and Vesa walked to the edge of the circle together. When they crossed the line, the duel was officially over. The challenge was complete. Humanity had won. Park Subin ran forward, tears streaming down her face. She grabbed Do-Yun's hands and held them tight. "You did it," she said. "You saved us all." Do-Yun shook his head. "I just fought a duel. There is still much work to do. But we keep our seat. We keep everything. Yes. But we have also made enemies." He looked at Commander Rael, who was staring at him with pure hatred. "This is not over. This is only the beginning." Subin followed his gaze and felt cold. "What do? We do what humans have always done," Do-Yun said. "We adapt. We endure. We survive." Across the arena, General Vor pushed through the crowd. He was old and moved slowly, but people stepped aside for him out of respect. He walked up to Do-Yun and stood before him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Vor bowed. It was a deep bow, the kind a Karathi gave to an honored enemy. "I have seen warriors from 100 worlds," the old general said. "I have never seen anything like you." "I am just a man," Do-Yun said. "No." Vor shook his head. "You are much more than that. And I think the galaxy is only beginning to learn what humanity really is." He turned and walked away, leaving those words hanging in the air. Do-Yun looked down at his hands. They were covered in blood, his and Vesa's. He had not wanted this. He had tried so hard to avoid it, but when the time came, he had done what was necessary. That was what humans did. That was what they had always done. The medical bay was quiet. Do-Yun sat on a bed while a medical robot cleaned and sealed his wounds. The cuts on his arm and shoulder were deep but not dangerous. In a few days, they would heal completely. Vesa's wounds would take longer. She lay in a bed on the other side of the room. Her eyes were closed, but she was not sleeping. Every few minutes, her hands would clench into fists, and her jaw would tighten. She was replaying the fight in her mind, trying to understand what had happened. Do-Yun watched her. He felt something unexpected, not satisfaction or pride, but sadness. He knew what she was going through. He had been there himself, years ago, when his own certainties had been destroyed. The door opened, and Commander Rael walked in. His face was dark with anger. He moved past Do-Yun without looking at him and went straight to Vesa's bed. "Get up," he said. His voice was cold. Vesa opened her eyes. "Commander." "Get up! We are leaving!" She sat up slowly, wincing in pain. "The duel is over. There is no reason to rush." "The duel was a disaster," Rael growled. "You embarrassed the Empire in front of the entire galaxy. You failed your mission, your people, and your honor. Get up. We return to the homeworld tonight." Vesa's face went pale. "What will happen to me there?" Rael did not answer. He did not need to. They both knew what happened to Karathi warriors who brought shame to the Empire. Do-Yun stood up. "Commander." Rael turned to him. His black eyes burned with hatred. "Do not speak to me, human. She fought with honor. She has nothing to be ashamed of." "What would you know about honor? You are a trickster, a liar. You pretended to be weak and then attacked when she was overconfident. There is no honor in that. There is no honor in sending your greatest champion to fight someone you thought was helpless," Do-Yun replied. His voice was calm but firm. "You chose this duel because you wanted an easy victory. You wanted to humiliate humanity by destroying our weakest warrior. That was your plan, wasn't it?" Rael's hands tightened into fists. "Watch your words." "I watched your champion. I watched how she fought. She is skilled and brave, and she deserves better than to be punished because your strategy failed." My strategy was perfect. She was supposed to kill you in seconds. Then you made a mistake. Do-Yun stepped closer to Rael. He was much smaller than the Karathi commander, but he did not seem small. You looked at humans and saw only our bodies. You saw that we were short and thin and soft. You thought that meant we were weak. You are weak. We survived a death world. We climbed to the top of a food chain that included animals with claws and teeth and poison. We killed predators 10 times our size with sticks and stones. We sailed across oceans that tried to swallow us. We conquered mountains that tried to freeze us. We built machines that let us fly through the sky and swim through space. Do-Yun's voice grew harder. You think we are weak because we don't look like warriors. But we are the most dangerous thing this galaxy has ever seen. We just don't advertise it. Rael stared at him. His rage was still there, but something else was growing beneath it. Something that looked like doubt. This is not over, Rael said quietly. The Empire will not forget this insult. I'm sure it won't, Do-Yun agreed. But before you go home and plan your revenge, ask yourself something. If one quiet security officer could defeat your greatest champion, what do you think would happen if you actually made us angry? Rael's face went still. Humans don't like to fight, Do-Yun continued. We avoid it when we can. We prefer to talk, to trade, to cooperate. But when we are pushed, when we are given no choice, we become something else. And you really don't want to see what that something else looks like. He let the words hang in the air. Then he turned to Vesa. She was watching him with an expression he could not read. What will you do? He asked her. She hesitated. I will return to the homeworld. I will face whatever punishment the Empire decides. And then? I don't know. My career as a champion is over. My honor is gone. I have nothing left. Do-Yun nodded slowly. Then stay. Vesa blinked. What? Stay here, on Harmony 7. Why would I do that? Because you're asking the right questions now. Yesterday you knew exactly who you were and what you believed. Today you don't. That's not a bad thing. That's how growth starts. Rael made a sound of disgust. She will not stay with humans. She is Karathi. I'm not asking her to become human, Do-Yun said. I'm asking her to learn, to watch, to understand. Maybe one day she can take what she learns back to your empire and help your people see us differently. We will never see you differently. Then you will always fear us. And eventually, that fear will destroy you. Rael grabbed Vesa's arm. We are leaving, now. But Vesa did not move. She looked at Do-Yun for a long moment. She thought about the garden, where he had called himself a monster. She thought about the arena, where he had shown her mercy. She thought about everything she believed and everything she had seen. No, she said. Rael's grip tightened. What did you say? I am staying. You cannot. You are a citizen of the Empire. I command you. You have no authority over me now. Vesa pulled her arm free. I lost the duel. I have no rank, no title, no status. I am nothing. And that means I am free to make my own choices. Rael's face twisted with fury. For a moment, Do-Yun thought he might attack her. But then the commander stepped back. You will regret this, he said. Both of you. The Empire remembers its enemies and its traitors. He turned and walked out without another word. Vesa let out a long breath. She looked at Do-Yun, and for the first time she smiled. It was a small smile, uncertain and sad, but it was real. That was probably a mistake, she said. Probably, Do-Yun agreed. My people will never forgive me. Maybe not, but maybe in time they will understand. Vesa sat back down on the bed. She looked at her hands, 4 hands that had killed so many enemies. Today, those hands had failed her, or maybe they had set her free. I don't know what happens now, she said quietly. Neither do I, Do-Yun said. But that's okay. Humans are good at figuring things out as we go. Vesa looked up at him. Will you teach me? Teach you what? How you fight. How you think. How you became what you are. Do-Yun considered this. For 2 years he had tried to forget what he was. He had buried the warrior inside him, hoping it would never wake up. But it had woken up. It was awake right now, looking out through his eyes. Maybe it was time to stop fighting himself. Yes, he said. I'll teach you. Vesa nodded. Good. Outside the medical bay, the station was returning to normal. People went back to their work, their lives, their routines. The duel was over. The crisis had passed, but something had changed. The galaxy had seen a human warrior defeat a Karathi champion. They had seen strength hiding behind weakness. They had seen mercy where they expected death. They were paying attention now, and somewhere in the quiet spaces between the stars, humanity's story was taking a new turn. 3 months passed. The galaxy moved on. News of the duel spread to 1,000 worlds, and then faded into memory. There were new stories to tell, new dramas to watch. Most people forgot about the human who had defeated the Karathi champion. But on Harmony 7, nothing was forgotten. Do-Yun returned to his job as a security officer. He walked his patrols, stood at his posts, and spoke to no one about what had happened. When people asked him how he had won, he simply said, "I got lucky." No one believed him, but no one pressed him either. There was something in his eyes now that made people keep their distance. Vesa stayed on the station. She had no official role, no job, no purpose. She was a warrior without a war, a champion without a fight. For the first few weeks, she spent most of her time alone in her quarters. Then she started training with Do-Yun. They met every morning in an empty cargo bay. Do-Yun taught her human fighting techniques, wrestling, boxing, the martial arts of a dozen different cultures. He taught her to use her size and strength in new ways. He taught her to think like a human. But more than that, he taught her to understand humans. "We are not like other species," he explained one morning, after knocking her to the floor for the 5th time. "Most intelligent beings evolved on safe worlds. They had time to think, to plan, to develop slowly. Humans didn't have that luxury." Vesa got to her feet, rubbing her shoulder. "You keep talking about your death world. But many Karathi worlds are harsh. We are not weak." "No, you are not weak. But you are predictable." Do-Yun circled her, watching her stance. "Karathi culture is built on rules, honor codes, proper behavior. You know exactly how a Karathi warrior will act in any situation because they will follow the rules. And humans don't follow rules? We follow rules when they help us. When they don't, we break them." Vesa attacked, throwing a combination she had practiced 100 times. Do-Yun slipped past her blows and swept her legs out from under her. "Like that," he said, helping her up. "That combination is perfect. It follows all the principles of Karathi blade work. It is technically beautiful. And I will never fall for it because I have seen you use it before." "Then what should I do?" "Something I'm not expecting." Vesa thought about this. Then she attacked again, but this time, halfway through the combination, she stopped and headbutted him in the chest. Do-Yun stumbled back, surprised. Then he laughed. "Good," he said. "That's very good." Vesa smiled. It was becoming easier to smile now. "I am learning." "Yes, you are." As the weeks passed, their training sessions became longer and more complex. They started sparring with weapons, then with multiple opponents. Do-Yun brought Tai-Ho and other human security officers to help, and Vesa began to see how humans worked together as a team. They were chaotic. They argued and joked and made up plans as they went along. There was no hierarchy, no rigid structure. But somehow, in the heat of combat, they came together perfectly. "It's because we trust each other," Do-yun explained. We don't need rules because we know what our teammates will do. We've trained together, lived together, suffered together. That creates something rules can never create. And what is that? Family. Vesa thought about the Karathi Empire. Her people were strong and proud and disciplined. But were they family? Did they trust each other the way these humans did? She was not sure. One evening she sat with Do-yun on the observation deck. They watched the stars in comfortable silence. It was strange. 3 months ago she had wanted to kill him. Now she could not imagine her life without him. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Yes. In the arena, when you had your blade at my throat, why did you really let me live?" Do-yun was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "I told you about my past, about the mission where I lost my team." "Yes. What I didn't tell you was that I killed 17 people that night. Not enemies, guards, young men who were just doing their jobs. They were in my way, so I went through them." Vesa said nothing. She waited. "I've spent years trying to forget their faces," Do-yun continued. "I took this job because I thought I could start over, be someone different, be something other than a killer." "But you are a killer. You have the skills." "Having skills doesn't mean I have to use them. I wanted to prove that to myself. In the arena, when I had you beaten, I had a choice. I could be what my training made me, or I could be what I wanted to become." He looked at her. "I chose to become something new, and I hoped that by letting you live, maybe you could become something new too." Vesa felt something shift inside her. Something that had been tight and hard for her entire life began to loosen. "I think I am starting to," she said quietly. Do-yun smiled. "Good." The next day, Park Soo-bin called a meeting. She had news from the Galactic Council. "The Karathi are withdrawing from Council space," she announced. "They're ending all trade agreements and diplomatic relationships. They're sealing their borders." The humans in the room exchanged worried looks. "Is this because of the duel?" Taeho asked. "Partly, but there's something else happening in their empire, some kind of internal conflict. The council doesn't have details yet." Do-yun thought about Commander Rail and his hatred. He thought about General Vor and his warning look. Something was changing among the Karathi. He looked at Vesa. "Do you know anything about this?" She shook her head. "I've been cut off from my people since I chose to stay. But this is not surprising. There have been tensions in the Empire for years. Different factions disagree about how to deal with other species. And now humanity has given those factions something to argue about," Soo-bin said. "The duel proved that humans are more dangerous than anyone thought. Some Karathi will want to avoid us. Others will want to destroy us before we become a threat." The room was quiet. "What do we do?" Taeho asked. Do-yun stood up. Everyone looked at him. "We do what we always do," he said. "We watch. We learn. We prepare. And if war comes, we face it together." "And if it doesn't come?" Soo-bin asked. "Then we keep building, keep growing, keep showing the galaxy that humans are not the enemy." He looked at Vesa. "And maybe, if we're lucky, we start changing some minds." Vesa stood up and walked to stand beside him. "I was your enemy," she said. "Now I am your friend. If I can change, others can too." Do-yun nodded. "That's what we're counting on." Later that night, Do-yun stood alone on the observation deck. The stars stretched out before him, endless and silent. Somewhere out there, the Karathi Empire was preparing for something. War, maybe. Or maybe something else. He did not know what the future held. He did not know if his choices had been right. All he knew was that he had done what he believed was good. He had shown strength. He had shown mercy. He had tried to build instead of destroy. That was the human way. And maybe, just maybe, that was what would save them all. The stars glittered in the darkness. The galaxy waited, and Kang Do-yoon, the quiet security officer who had defeated a champion, looked out at the future and wondered what would come next. Whatever it was, humanity would face it the way they always had, together.